think this is one of those schools that, not all schools announce themselves, and not all schools announce themselves in the same way. But this is one of those schools when you arrive, you really feel like you've arrived. I mean, it's just physically beautiful. It's on 30 acres. It's in downtown Toronto. I mean, these are attributes that other schools would just love to have. I think that one of the first buildings you see, or a main building on campus, is a heritage home. It's a manor. It's absolutely gorgeous, and then that contrasts with the newer building, and it's just beautiful. The space is just so important to the life of this school. I think it can be just a very animating environment to be within. And that they have so much that they can do with that. They're on the ravine. The kids can get out into the woods. I mean, it's just remarkable that it exists, that it's right next to the Glendon campus. These are just all wonderful attributes. And like I say, when you arrive, you really feel like you've arrived someplace special. And in fact, you have. I think the ravine, I think that the proximity to green space is just something that so many schools would love to have, that they can be that proximate to so much green space, yet be literally on the public transportation and sort of basically in downtown Toronto. I mean, it's quite unique. I think it's important. I think it's important to step away from the hustle and bustle of the world if you can, even if it's not that large a step, but to just feel that you're somehow apart from it. I think that a lot of students really appreciate that, whether they'd articulate that or not. I think they do like the idea that they've arrived somewhere and that they're kind of in this community that's sort of adjacent to the rest of city life. So when you think about all those leaders who were thinking, these school people who thought, well, we could be doing something better, we could be doing something kinder, we could develop people into full people, not necessarily just creating them to fit into certain roles. And Jimmy James, who founded this school, was very much one of those people. He wasn't necessarily saying, I want to build a big building. He said, I want to help people become who they should be and to be better people. And so he literally invited 20 students that first year in 1913 into his own home, and that's how the school began. And the school has an historian, and the historian commented that it was that he wanted a kinder, gentler alternative to the kind of things that were happening in other schools, and certainly that's what the school became, and it's still that today. So if I thought of the school as having a personality, it would probably be that of Michael Fellin, who's the current headmaster. He himself went to an all-boys school, and that's where he came to appreciate what an all-boys school can do. And he really knows the things that he appreciated about it is his ability to build character and to build well-rounded individuals who have confidence but also a sense of humility and who are just good, kind people. And that's who Michael Fellin is. And I think when you speak to him, he's very easy to talk to. He doesn't have his elbows out all the time. He's able to listen. And I think that's very much what the school is about. So again, we think of all boys schools as sort of a throwback. They seem sort of out of time in a way, in part because I think if nobody has any experience of an all-boys school, they might think of the examples from the 1800s that are in literature or whatever, and those schools don't exist and nothing like them exists anymore. But the question is, what do all-boys schools do today? What do they offer for the students that come to them? And I think for Fellin, and indeed for the school since it's throughout its entire life, it's been that idea of developing, as their motto says, men of character. And so not necessarily having a character education program, but having that as really the entire thrust of the school, is that this is the greatest thing that they can give these students. Yes, they're going to get the academics. The kids can go to any school of this stature and quality and they'll get a great academic program. But Crescent is really about what else? And that's an important question. And in their case, it's about developing people who have character, who are much like Michael Fellin. The school is a bit on the larger side if we're talking just sort of, in terms of numbers. I think it's about 750 or so. That's not huge, but that's a good size. That's a good size school. Yet even so, I think the way the school is divided up and the way it's run, it does feel very, very comfortable. It does feel very much like home. And I think the students that go really appreciate that. So the school also prides itself on its relationship with parents and creates a lot of ways for them to be involved in the school. And that doesn't mean that they have to, be signing up for lunch duty or doing those sorts of things. Everybody's busy. But it is important to ensure that there are all sorts of formal and informal ways of communication. And the school really steps out in that regard. They have, the coffee and conversation in the morning. Michael Fellin is prone and often goes out into people's homes and has meetings with parents and meets with them regularly, as much to tell them what's happening and keep them informed, but also to hear what they have to say about what's going on. They even do things like, coffee and conversation in the morning, when some evenings they'll have cocktails and conversation. They have those sorts of meetings as well. So, they really have dedicated themselves to open lines of communication, even in a school this size, which could be harder. But they're creating those initiatives to make sure that the communication is consistent. And I also love that, as they're able, parents are very much welcome into the school. And they even have this thing with dads reading with the kids, which I think is lovely, inviting the dads into the school. A lot of dads would like to do that, but maybe sometimes they need a bit of an invitation too, just to let them know that they're welcome. And I like programs like that. I think it says a lot about the school. I think to their credit, they're a school that really looks and will use the term relational learning, that's really the thrust of it, is that this idea, and I think it's absolutely true, that kids can't learn unless they have a relationship with the people that they're learning with and that they're learning from. And as you'd imagine, it's a boys' school. There's a lot of physical activity. So the athletics department is very, very important. It's very important in the life of the students. What I think maybe you don't expect is the focus that they have on the arts, and rightly so. And they really bring that forward, and they bring it forward in lots of interesting ways. The head of the art department, she is one of these very inspiring people in what she does and how she brings art to the students. And I think she doesn't shy away from anything. Because of the school, because of its stature, they have the ability to attract people to come and speak on campus. And they do, and they make the most of that, as they should. But the people that she brings are people like Edward Batinsky, who does those photographs of the environment and kind of industrial sort of wastelands and things. These are hard ideas. These are big ideas. This isn't, and getting kids interacting with that. But she also brought in a graffiti artist, which I think is such a great way to gather people around the idea of art and get them asking those questions. What is art? I mean, it's very exciting. They have a graffiti artist come in. This guy is a world-class graffiti artist. And to have the kids interacting with this person one-to-one, and then also doing some of their own work in that regard, I think is great. So they're finding these creative ways to bring the students' curiosity into all other areas. They might be there and they might be like, I just love the sports, but they're able to kind of get them thinking in different ways and get them involved across all the disciplines within the school. Yeah, they have the full roster of co-curriculars that you'd expect at a school of this size, and there's certainly a lot of opportunity for kids to try new things, and that's a goal of it all. But they also have, as part of their co-curricular offering, is the service part of it. Getting out into the world and becoming citizens in the way that offering your service to others. And I think this school does it sort of in interesting ways. It does all the usual things that you'd expect, gathering food for, say, the food bank or whatever. But it also wants the boys to get out and to get to know or get to experience people who are different than them. So rather than just, kind of delivering things and dropping things off and picking them up, they also go into homes and they'll spend time with people. And I think that that's a lovely aspect of their co-curricular program. That yes, it's about doing things, it's about raising money, but it's also, let's just go spend time with people that we wouldn't normally meet, and just sitting in a room together and offering that sort of support and then helping in other ways. I think is a great aspect of the program. And of course it feeds right into this idea, the character education that's so fundamental to the school. You know, it is important, I think, to ask any school, you know, about their academic program, and invariably they'll say some version of it's rigorous and challenging. And the question is, well, how do you mean? How is it rigorous and challenging? And in this instance, it's rigorous and challenging in that it challenges students to follow their curiosities, to engage with different things across the curriculum, and to engage deeply with those things across the curriculum. It's very much an experience-based sort of approach, and the kids learn by doing. And that's apparent just walking through the school in all big and little ways. I think, you know, we can make too much of it, but I think it's an interesting example is that, you know, the financial literacy piece that they do, there's a club that the kids can take part in the senior school, you know, where they learn about investments, and they use real money. There's $45,000 a year that they have that they can make decisions about. And of course it's supervised, but, you know, they can fail or succeed on the decisions that they make. That's such a stark example of learning through doing. And certainly the kids that take part in that, it's something they'll remember for the rest of their lives. That's just one example, but there are so many other examples much like that. So when they talk about learning through doing, it really is. They're really getting out there, they're really doing things. It's about authentic learning. It's about solving problems together, solving real world problems, and then acting on those things, not just creating ideas, but really given an opportunity to go out and act on them as well. So there's a strategic academic plan, and it has a title. It's called the Crescent Way. And it really is a way of formalizing their commitment to relational learning, to hands-on experiential learning. And so everything refers back to that idea of the Crescent Way. And so one of the ways they have to do that is the Crescent Center for Boys Education. So it's a research body within the school, which then, you know, studies what's happening in the school, looks at ways of developing all those things that are, again, within the Crescent Way, that kind of hands-on learning and the character piece, and publishes papers on that. So it's really, in that sense, the kind of school that other schools are looking at, precisely because the school is broadcasting what they're doing, creating, you know, up-to-the-minute research through this body within the school itself. I think the school really, from the very earliest days, from, you know, from J.W. James right on down, the intention of the school is to send people out into the world who are going to be good citizens. And I wish more schools thought about it that way. Yes, they're going to go to university, that's great. But who are they going to be? Are they going to be civic-minded people? Are they going to be good citizens? And I think that's something that the school has always tried to do. That's kind of what they're all about. And I think they've demonstrated their ability to deliver exactly that. Yeah, I think foremost, and again it goes with their motto, Men of Character from Boys of Promise, if there's anything they want you to know about the school, that's it, and rightly so. It's about character. Again, you know, parents can look at any school of this quality, and they're going to get great academics, and the question is, what else are they going to get? And I think here it's that character piece. And the school has been leading in this regard. It really is one of those schools that other schools look to when they're building their own sort of character education pieces. And the school is leading and doing so well at that. You know, in a school of this size, it's important to have formal structures around wellness, and the school does. They've got all the offices that you'd expect. They've got all the staff and the expertise that you'd expect. Even there are nurses on staff. And they have, you know, those formal programs, and then one they call it STEM 1.0, which is sleep, think, eat, move. And so that kind of is one of the cornerstones of the wellness program, communicating this idea that to be well, we need to do all those things. And so using that STEM 1.0, they're able to work it into the curriculum, and that's important. But as Nick Kovac says, he's the deputy head, it's really a school about modeling. It's really about modeling behavior and creating a climate of care. And I think that's a great way to express it too. It's one thing, again, to have all those structures, those formal structures and staff in place. but then what else are you doing? And I think in this case, it's really kind of creating that climate of care. And the cornerstone of that then is mentorship and behaving yourself in a certain way and offering opportunities for the students to mentor each other across the grade levels. And all these things are, they all contribute into this greater kind of wellness program that the school really does so well at. This feature review has been published as a book, and it's also available online at ourkids.net.